Okay, I just want to show you the upgrades that I've made to this 425M6 leak tester. And I'm not actually hooked up to a leak tester, I'm just hooked up to a PLC. That's why you see these error messages in the status bar. But for the purpose of this demo, we don't need to do any tests, I just want to show you the HMI. So when we log in, well, when we turn on the tester, we get to the login screen, and didn't really make any changes there. We still have our 3 language buttons, English, Spanish, and German, but I have to update the labels for the Spanish and the German, so that's not done yet. And we can also add other language buttons. French probably makes sense. And then I'm not sure about the Asian market, so we can put Korean in there. We can even put Spanish in there, so it's all possible. Anyway, let's log in. So our default password is 1111. When we log in, we get to login level 1. Color changes to yellow. So now everybody knows that walks by the tester, somebody's logged in as the supervisor. So when we log out, login level 0, different color. And when somebody logs in with the master password 1914, it turns red, login level 4. Okay, other than that, I didn't really make any changes. All right, let's go to the main screen. So here's our main screen, and I didn't really make any changes here. Yeah, so we don't even need to talk about that. So let's go on to the parameter screen. So here in the parameter screen, we made some changes. And the first change is this chamber parameter. So each product has its own chamber now. So the options at this point are rigid, small flex, medium flex, and large flex. And that is because of the coefficient factor, which is not implemented at this point. However, the provision is there with the chamber. So each product has its own chamber now. And then with the product name itself, we want to make it easier for the customer to pick their product. So when they have 20 different products, so the way this works, if they enter their product name, let's call this product 1 cheese, it already populates it in the drop-down list. Just change this one, couple of parameters. So now we have one product, it's called cheese. So because we only have one product, we're not going to show all 20 products. We're just going to show what they use. So if they want to create a new one, click on the blank line, confirm product change, yes. So, and this is not going to be cheese, this is going to be chocolate. Okay, once again, confirm parameter change, and it populates the drop-down list. We make a couple of parameter changes so we can see the difference. So now let's change this to large flex. So now when the customer picks his product drop-down list, he can see cheese and chocolate. So he wants to pick cheese, and as soon as he picks cheese, it shows the parameters, all the parameters for the cheese, including the name. You can say yes, so rigid tooling. So we go to chocolate. As you can see, it changed it to 3. However, if he says, no, I don't want chocolate, I want to stick with cheese, goes back, says no, goes back to cheese. Let's create a third one, confirm. And the third one is going to be honey. Confirm parameter change. Let's do 8 and 8. You can see it. So again, he sees it, cheese, chocolate, and honey. So he goes to chocolate, changes here, it says chocolate. If he doesn't want to change it, oh no, it's not chocolate, I want to go to cheese, changes all the parameters to cheese, and then he can say, yes, I want to stick with cheese. So just to make it easier for the customer to pick their product from the drop-down menu. We still have the option to go to 20 products if you wanted to. However, if they only use 3 or 4, it doesn't make sense to show all 20 products. So, but again, if they want to add one, just pick the blank line, confirm, sugar, and drop-down list populates cheese, chocolate, honey, sugar. So that should make it easier for them. And yeah, that's actually it for the parameter changes. Let's go to the data screen. With the data screen, we didn't make any changes, so nothing real to talk about, except, at one point I want to talk about this data file, this data logging file where we have the option, but that's a separate issue. I want to talk about that a little bit later. So, for now, didn't make any changes. However, when you're at the leak tester itself, you cannot see the result file. It says you connect PC to open file, so you can only see the file when a PC is connected to it. So not through the HMI that is on the leak tester. So that's the main point. But you can still reset the data from the tester, or you can write the summary into the tester. But you cannot open the data file from the tester. Okay, so let's go to the system screen. So in the system screen, didn't really make any changes. I just rearranged some of the data points that the customer can see, moved them around a little bit, and then, other than that, nothing really changed, except this system verification button. So to get into the system verification screen, you have to go to the system screen and click on the system verification button. So this is the system verification screen, and what this screen allows us to do is to check the system for any potential leaks. So once again, we have our chambers, rigid, small flex, medium flex, large flex, and then we also have the option to test the system without a chamber. So just the leak tester itself. So what do we have? We have, in this example, we have the rigid chamber and those parameters. So we're not using, cycle 1, cycle 2. We just have simple parameters: evacuation time, equalizing time, testing time. So we have 5 seconds evacuation time, 20 seconds equalizing, 10 seconds testing, and that just allows us to use different parameters than in the parameter screen for the rigid chamber. So here, product 1, we use completely different parameters. So there's nothing to do, the system verification has nothing to do with their product. We just want to test the system by itself, either with chamber or without chamber. And then once we are in this screen and we hit the start button, we're going to perform a system verification. In this example, we're going to do it with the rigid tooling. So at that point, at the end of the test, we're going to get a result, date, time, absolute vacuum, and differential vacuum. And if we like this test, so we determined, okay, that was a good test, we didn't abort it, everything was fine, we can save this test by clicking the save button, and then it populates these 10 results. So we have an option to save 10 system verification tests for each chamber. So when time comes, 3-4 months down the road, or who knows, even a year down the road, when there's a problem with the system, and they're testing their rigid chamber, we can tell them, listen, perform a system verification test with the rigid chamber. We still want the same parameters, and we want to see how it behaved. What's the absolute vacuum, what's the differential vacuum, do we see any changes, so we can kind of better troubleshoot the system, for either us or the customer itself. And we have this option for each chamber. So small flex, we click on small flex. As you can see, different set of data, different parameters. So each chamber has their own parameters and their own data set. So that should allow them, the customer and us, to troubleshoot the system a little bit better. Medium flex, large, or the none means, we don't want to test with a chamber at all. We just want to test the system. So at this point, we have the option of 4 chambers plus a system test. So that's the system verification. And to get to the system verification, it's in the system screen. Click on system verification. Okay, let's go to our setup screen. So our setup screen changed quite a bit, actually. So the major change is that the supervisor can now assign access rights to various parts and sections of the leak tester. So right now, as we can see, the supervisor did not assign any rights to the operator. So we only have 2 logins. We have login level 1 and login level 0. So when we have login level 1, we can choose what login level 0's access rights are. So right now there is no rights for login level 0. So so right now we can change the date, we can change the parameters because we're on login level 1. So once we log out, we go to our setup screen. As you can see, it's all grayed out. The operator can see what access he has or lack thereof, and he can see, date, time, but he cannot change anything. Cannot change the password either. Parameters, same, cannot do any changes. So the only thing the operator right now can do is start a test. In my case, he can't because we don't have a leak tester connected to it. So let's log in. 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. Go into the setup, we can see the password, and this is where the supervisor can actually change the password to any 4 characters or 4 numbers. So it only recognizes 4. So that would be okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Only takes 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's give the operator some access. So he can say, okay, the operator is able to select the product. Cannot make any changes to the product, but he can select the product. Let's try that. Give him access. Let's log out. Parameters. So now he has access to the products. Now he can pick a product, say confirm change. However, can't do anything with it. Yes, product 1. Right. So they have access to select the product. Let's log back in. So the changes it can do, or the access rights the supervisor can give the operator. Change product name. So what that means is, go back to parameters, you can change this name. Log out. You give him access so he can select the product and change the name. Let's log back in. Same, can change the product lot or the ID. It's right here. Change parameters, obviously. Can change any of these parameters. Reset data means the operator can reset the data. Let's log out. Right here, you can reset it now. Set everything back to 0. Also in the data screen, can reset it. One. Start system verification. So when this is checked, obviously, let me see. Yeah, when this is checked, goes into system verification, he can change or he can make a start. It's not implemented 100%, but that's the idea. Change system verification parameters. So if we're logging out, goes into system verification, cannot make any changes. So he can, take a look at some data, but he cannot make changes. And we're logging back in. They allow him to make changes. So at this point, system verification, he can make change in the system verification. Or change date and time, that will be right here. So right now we log out, cannot change anything. Log back in, change it, log out, setup, can make changes to date and time. Now, calibration verification, change and password is only allowed by the supervisor. And then we also added some of the options here, that were in the PTI screen so far. System vacuum means, we have a regulator, not only a vacuum pump. Start touch button, that's for a test stand. The leak tester needs to know if we have start touch buttons, or it's a drawer system, or the supervisor can choose if they want to abort if the test fails on differential. So for product that can contaminate the system, for example, or what have you, maybe you want to fail as soon as differential fails. Maybe you want to finish the test, so here's the option, they can do that. And then we also want to give them the option CFR 21 Part 11, but it's not implemented on this 425M6. But again, it's not as easy as just checking the box. They need to purchase the memory module, plug it in, and then it checks that memory module, the key, it's called the CFR 21 Part 11 key file with this system ID. So if that corresponds, it's an encrypted code, and if that corresponds, then they can use that CFR 21 Part 11. But again, that's in other testers, but not in this 425M6 yet. So these are the major changes for the setup. Now, when the supervisor logs in, that's all of the access he has that we just went through. Now we can log in with 1914. Then we have one additional screen, which is when we're in the setup screen, we can click setup again, and then we're getting to our so-called PTI screen, even though I call it setup screen. And this is where we have our internal data. So here we can also reset the tester counter. So the tester counter is this counter right here. So we just reset it to 0 tests since December 2017. Gives us, a little bit of an idea how many tests they've done. And then we can do our repeat test. Click on repeat. We all know that. And then we also have our chamber coefficient factors here. So right now they're not populated, it's not implemented yet, but that's where we can change it, and we really only want PTI to change that. But again, it's not implemented yet. I still have to wait for Mike to talk to him about that. This one, raw set point, this is more of a troubleshooting guide for Chris downstairs for the people that assemble the machine. So really the customer does not need to get into this screen, into this secondary setup screen. So that's why it's only accessible by 1914, and it's not really advertised. So when we log out or even log in a supervisor setup, it doesn't say it. So that's the demo basically, and next week I want to implement that at PTI with a real tester, so we can actually test it. But so far it looks okay. Again, system verification is functional, so I just need to implement it. This one already works as we've seen. We made changes to the parameters, so to make it a lot easier for the customer to pick their product. Added this parameter, chamber parameter for each product. So lots of it works already. I just want to implement it and test it, and I'm going to do that next week at PTI. So like in the meantime, if you have any suggestions, please shoot me an email. Thanks.